you did what you did, and then you try to come in secret, and you know what I'm saying, now you trying to be all buddy buddy and stuff.
Mm-hmm. That, oh my God, that's not even an apology. Don't even bring up I'm sorry.
Damn.
If you say I'm sorry, you feel that way.
Yeah,
That's being
that's
condescending.
self-centered. That's some narcissistic type.
Now, before we get any further, please make sure you take the time right now and hit the like button. That's right, hit the like button and subscribe.
How important is an apology? Either giving it or receiving it. And we're going to cover that in today's podcast. Why do you think apologies carry so much weight in relationships? And this is not just like man and woman or intimate relationships, but just relationships with people. Maybe, sisters or brothers, or mother and daughter, or father and son, or friendships. Why do you think that apologies carry so much weight in personal as well as the professional setting? Jeremiah?
I think apologies help indicate that you understand what the issue was, or you understand what you're validating the discourse between each other. So I think it doesn't matter whether you're with a romantic relationship or a friendship or a professional relationship. I feel it's in order to move forward, we have to understand there's a mutual respect there, and that just kind of recalibrates that respect by you apologizing, acknowledging where things went wrong, or your part in how things went wrong.
Well, without apologies, we can't maintain trust in relationships. There's no relationship that is going to have that's not going to include offenses, misunderstandings, errors, injuries, things of that nature. But apologies is a way that we maintain, the integrity of relationships where there can be trust. We need to be able to trust that you understand what you did and there's a sincere acknowledgement. And, we need to be able to have faith that you're going to do everything that you can not to cause injury or harm,
I think it carries a lot of weight because I think it really just kind of depends on the situation. It really is important to own up to when you are wrong and to let someone know that and be honorable about that. And I think that when you're receiving an apology, it really can, I guess, kind of reconfirm your feelings or kind of just put you more at ease rather than kind of question yourself, wondering a few things. Someone coming in, owning up to them being wrong definitely has some type of weight to it.
Similar to what New and Baba Bukola said, I just believe that taking ownership is a really big factor, because if you are in a relationship or even business circumstances like you have mentioned, not being able to take ownership in your faults or your wrongdoing, even if it was a mistake, just shows that it goes to show that people can't trust you, people can't depend on you, you're not a reliable source, and it just becomes less, you're going to be less picked for whatever the case may be, because you are not that valuable, or reliable person that people can rely on. So I think it just goes back to just letting people know that you will take ownership and own up to what you have done, and be a little bit more mature, because that comes with maturity as well.
Any of you, do you believe that there's situations where an apology really just might not be enough to repair the damage that has been done?
Yes, there's definitely situations, because I hate to bring up such a harsh example, but say somebody, took somebody off the planet of the earth, and then their only thing was, "Oh, I apologize for doing so." Now it's just like, okay, you apologize, and I understand that, but I can't get my whoever that was back. I can't get them back. So although you apologize, that doesn't reverse your actions that you did. And I know you said make up for what they did, and I still don't believe it can make up for what they did, because at the end of the day, a human's life is worth more than just a few words. So I
Right.
don't think that it can make up for what somebody did in every situation.
I definitely think that, apologizing truly is just words to a certain extent. I think it really depends on the action behind that apology that really strengthens that apology. If you just say sorry and then keep on continuing doing what you're apologizing for, that sorry means nothing. But showing actions and changing after you apologize and showing that you really are sincere about that, that's when it actually makes an impact.
Yeah, I don't think apology's job is to necessarily heal wounds. I think it's supposed to be the catalyst to the healing. Just acknowledgement. I think healing requires acknowledgement. So yeah, I think it's a part of it. But I don't know if it's supposed to just automatically heal because you say sorry. So I don't think it's supposed to repair the damage. I think it's supposed to begin the process of anything. In some rare cases, people don't even couldn't get an apology. They kind of work through it in their own time. But I think it definitely has the catalyst for it.
Ifa Bukola, do you believe that there are situations? I like the example Halim gave when he said, what about if someone takes someone's life? Will the family accept an apology from that killer?
Well, what it looks like for me is, demonstrating sincerity, in all of your language. And what I mean by all of your language, not just your words, your posture, your attitude, your tone, your body language, everything should say that that's what you really mean.
Really, what it looks like to me is just showing that, it's genuine, because you can just apologize and, like I said, if words are just words with no meaning behind, if you have like no serious, meaning behind it, and so you can just be throwing that out there because you're like, well, I know they would want me to apologize, so sorry, But like Bukola said, if there's your tone got to be right, your posture, like everything has to be right to show that it's genuine and not just out there just because it will be the right thing to do. Because there's a difference between just doing something because it's the right thing to do and doing something because you mean it and you want to do it.
And I like when you said genuine. That leads me to my next question. What are the key elements of a genuine or an effective apology? And I think I want to kind of answer that as well. I feel like some of the key elements is definitely, for me, is your tone, having a sincere tone that's not elevated or raised. I don't like people that apologize but they're shouting or still yelling. So I guess the level of tone, that's a key element. I think the setting is a key element. Where are you doing the apology at? I do think that for me, time is also a key element. If you're brushing past it, okay, well, I'm sorry. I just think there's not enough time that's been put in it to acknowledge, the situation, the seriousness of the apology. So I think timing is also a key element. Nu, what do you think are some key elements to an effective apology?
I think a key element is definitely addressing the reason on why you're apologizing, why you hurt that person in that way. I think sometimes people want to just rush over it and, just be like, oh, I'm sorry, and not really say what they're sorry for. And then, the person who's getting apologized to, you'll kind of just be a little like, well, what are you really apologizing for? It just seems like you're just trying to say sorry to get it out the way. So I definitely think actually emphasizing on why you're actually apologizing and what you're apologizing for is definitely a key part.
And I'm glad you said that. That is wonderful. Does anybody else think that it is important acknowledging the harm that caused, when the apology is needed?
Yeah. It doesn't mean anything at all if you don't. It's not even an apology if you don't, a lot of us aren't taught how to apologize. And what I mean by that is, we didn't get to see it demonstrated, the right way. And, an apology includes, first of all, an acknowledgement, not using the word but. If you use the word but, it's not an apology. It doesn't even count. It doesn't mean anything if you say but. If you're anxious to try to explain yourself, it's not an apology. You know, the apology is for the other person to give full acknowledgement to the other person's feelings, emotions, or acknowledgement to what was valuable to them that you caused harm or damage to. That's what it's for. You cannot put anything else in that sacred space or moment, or you contaminated it. It doesn't even mean it. You ball it up, throw it away. You know, so a lot of times we apologize and then take it right back with our selfish, impulses that we have. So,
by trying to explain, well, let me explain myself and why I did that. You're saying that's not effective. Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to get myself off get the heat off of me, try to get the weight off of me. But the apology is meant to be something that we bear. It has weight on the back. We bear the apology for the other person. That's why we say it in a spirit of humility, because we're bearing that apology. It has weight. It presses on our shoulders that we are in that moment of humility. You understand? So when we're trying to explain ourselves and justify our actions, we're taking that weight off of us instead of bearing it. And now it doesn't mean anything. You see what I'm saying? So acknowledging it is everything. I did this. I realized it made you feel this way. You explained to me that, you thought or you felt this. I understand, what you meant by that. And I thought about it. And, I just really feel regretful about what happened for this reason, such and such, but you don't go into justifying yourself.
I think it's very important. And one thing I wanted to say is that there's a feeling that a lot of people will feel sometimes. And that is a reason why sometimes they will not, want to own up, or like Bukola said, say but or something, or try to explain themselves. And it's that feeling of like, I don't know if it's vulnerability or it's like being, I don't know what the exact word is for it, but it's that you're in the wrong. And when they do that, they don't like that they're in the wrong. They don't like that, they're the one having to apologize or be submissive or be the one, that's trying to make the situation better.
That's my ego.
Yeah, exactly. The ego. They don't like it affects their ego. And I know that a lot of people is like that. So that is why they always try to explain themselves. Well, I'm sorry, but I was just trying to do, or something like that. And it's because of their ego that a lot of people are affected and get ego stroked when they have to apologize.
I wanna piggyback off what he said. There's this book I was reading before. I think it's called like I Am, but it was just talking about the ego as the ego's job is to validate your I am, so people what you think about yourself. And so kind of like what he was saying in that moment, if the apology includes accepting that I've been wrong or been an ill person towards somebody, and that doesn't really fit my I am. My ego is trying to defend that that I'm a kind person. But obviously, they're telling me I wasn't kind when what I did to you. And so now my ego is defending itself by not wanting me to apologize, because apparently the book said that whatever it can to keep that image up.
That's interesting. Do you guys think that people often confuse the words "I'm sorry" with actually taking responsibility for their actions? Meaning, is that "I'm sorry" empty oftentimes?
No, yeah, I feel like it definitely is, because you even hear some people are fussing back and forth with you, and you boom boom, and then just like, okay, I'm sorry, and it's just they just expect you to now just shut up and be fine with it just because you said 2 words, and with that, how if you were fussing with me right before you had apologized, how did you even have time to think about what you apologized for? How did you even have time to develop a proper apology? How did you even have time to fully acknowledge what was wrong if you were literally just fussing with me, trying to argue your point back and how you was right? So I do think there's a lot of times it's just thrown out there with it being empty.
Yeah,
I definitely agree with that one. 100%. How did you have time to, like when I think you said the same thing that Halim just said, is that that timing. Like if you so quickly react instead of actually digest what's happening and process what's happening, how could you really even mean it? You know what I'm saying?
You think that it depends on who it comes from, an apology. Because some apologies from certain people can be viewed as manipulative, insincere, gaslighting. Do y'all think that it matters who it comes from? Does that person affect those words of I'm sorry?
I think it definitely is circumstantial. I think usually it would be pretty much okay with whoever, but I think, if someone is constantly using I'm sorry to get out of everything, kind of back to what I was saying, was just being disingenuous with it and just constantly saying sorry all the time and expected that to be okay, but you're not actually changing any of your actions, then I think people might, someone might look at that person and not really accept that apology, or it might not be as impactful anymore because they're constantly using it and not really doing anything to back it up.
Yeah, I think society also teaches us to have empty apologies or insincere apologies. I know I worked in customer service, and one of the trainings that we had with customer service is always apologize to the customer for whatever problems or issues they're having. But why would I do that if I'm not truly sorry? I didn't cause it, but that's how you're trained. No, you got to tell them you're sorry and you're here to make it right. But first start off giving them an apology, even from childhood, that's one of the words we're teaching kids immediately. I'm sorry. Then the child does something and you say, tell them you're sorry, but we're not teaching them why or should they be sorry? What was the problem? And I know that with my children, you can ask them and they'll tell you, whenever my kids say they're sorry to each other, I always say, for what? You need to let the person know who you're apologizing to what you're sorry about and acknowledge it. So I really do think that, there are some people who you have empty apologies or might even be using it and they're not sincere in any way, or they could be using it as a way of being manipulative.
Yeah, it just raised a question because there are other instances people will say I'm sorry though. Like if you hear somebody telling you bad news they just received, then you're like, oh, I'm sorry that happened to you. And it's not like I did something to you, but it's kind of just like acknowledging what has happened to you because if someone's like somebody in my family just passed and you're like, oh, I'm sorry that happened to you, like even though it was not me that did it, I'm just saying I'm sorry for the situation, I'm sorry you had to go through that. So when you did say that, customer service people just train you to be like, okay, well, I'm sorry, I was trying to see, is it just because they're saying I'm sorry that happened to you, or they're trained to just give a shallow I'm sorry?
Do you guys think that the medium of an apology matters? Like in person or via text or in public or, in private, does the way or the medium of the apology matters? And how should you decide what's the best way to approach an apology?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think you definitely have to do it in person. I think you definitely need to do it in person. I think the best apology is in person. I mean, through text, it depends on how severe it is. Like, it's like, oh, you forgot to put this back up. I was like, a regular text to do, but when it's actually something that's a little bit of greater damage or greater cost, then I think you definitely should be in person. Because I've definitely had somebody apologize for something they didn't even do, but just having them apologizing eye to eye, it hit different.
What if they're out of town? Would you take an apology over the phone?
Yeah, but then I guess you gotta try a little harder to make it sound more sincere, vocally, and like in person is body language and other things in that manner.
So FaceTime will be acceptable, kind of considered in person.
Yeah, but I'm not saying we have to do it on FaceTime, right? But like I'm just saying, like it's gonna be a little bit more work, I guess. Vocally, like we're gonna have to definitely use more words and I need to hear sincerity in your voice. And if you're not a person that got a lot of vocabulary or a lot to say, but you really know you're genuinely sorry, now I don't know if the phone would be the best idea for you.
Kind of like what Jeremiah was saying, I definitely think in person is the best way to go about it. I feel like you can kind of just connect with the person more, and it will really make the apology feel more genuine rather than just being on the phone for like a quick 5-10 minutes and then just hanging up, and it is what it is. In person, you can console them, touch their hand, let them know really that you really feel bad for whatever you did, and that you're really genuine about it, rather than being on the phone. Or even, I know that kind of makes me wonder how back in the days, I guess when we didn't have FaceTime, you guys would like do like letters and stuff, and I don't know how that would feel now. I don't know if that would be viewed as genuine or not now.
I remember them joints. Yeah.
No, you get a lot more sincerity out when you're writing. That pen to paper does something.
Yo, it
I'm
does.
saying, but now, like, would that be well received now, considering
Yes.
that we have like FaceTimes and stuff like that, our generation?
Oh yeah, I definitely think it's based on generation for sure. But
Yeah,
I
that
think
was
older people will still love a handwritten apology. To me, that's just so much more sincere. You took the time. That's not convenience there. So you've inconvenienced yourself to put words down in your handwriting. You know what I'm saying? From your heart, in paper. Not saying everybody that does it that way is truly from their heart, but that goes a long way, at least for me.
But I don't know, like, so what if they wrote the letter, give it to you, like you get left it on your desk or whatever, you read it, it's heartfelt, and then the next moment you see them, they act like they don't even acknowledge the letter for it. Like, what's up, bro? It's like I'm saying, keep my hat on, bro. Like, I don't know, I gotta hear you also follow up with that one. Yeah. What is
Yo, them letters hit different. I ain't even gonna lie. Back in the day, them letters, especially
the letters, that was proof.
To write the letter, man. It was like,
you can't jump right back into the friendship after he's like, yeah, man, I missed that. You gotta say something. I really meant what I said on there. I'm okay, all right, bro, appreciate you.
Well, if you need it verbal, I understand. Do you guys think that? I don't know. Do you guys know anybody that apologizes for everything? I'm sorry. Like News was saying, that there's people that just constantly say, I'm sorry. Now, I'm just curious, how does someone accept a true, sincere apology from that same person? Because I don't know how to differentiate it. Because if you're sorry you dropped a muffin, then you're sorry you ran over my foot. It's two different things, but you still sounding the same. Helene, you know somebody? I mean, to me, that is the weirdest thing, and there's people out there like that will just, I'm sorry for the everything. At that point, I'm like, no, you're not sincere. Your apologies are empty.
Yeah, that's definitely true, because it's kind of like The Boy Who Cried Wolf, where he kept saying the same thing until it meant nothing to the guards anymore, and then when he was truly in danger, the guards didn't aid to his need. And so I think it's the same thing, like when they gonna keep saying, I'm sorry, and it's just like, all right, bro, like, and the thing is, they think they're doing something when sadly they're not. They're just making their case worse. And so when there's something that's really like, that's major, and now they're actually trying to apologize, it's like, I can't take it the same from you no more, because you already done ruined that. So it's like, a good apology is needed, but don't just start trying to throw apologies out there now, because like, okay, well, I'm sorry for this, I'm sorry for that, and it'd be the most minor inconvenience, and they'll just apologize for it. And although they think they may be helping, but I just really don't think they're helping their case at that point.
Yeah, I think that over apologizing becomes detrimental. It's just can be too much. What do you guys think? Some of the
can I say something one more time?
Yes.
Also, and if you apologizing that much, bro, you must be just doing something wrong. Like, if you apologizing to the point where your apologies don't mean nothing, clearly you just need to take a step back from what you're doing and like reevaluate yourself, because you need to get yourself together at that point.
Mm-hmm. What are some of the pitfalls someone should avoid when apologizing? I know Bukola said one. Avoid saying "but" when you're apologizing. I'm sorry, but. And here's one that I'm going to give. One of the biggest pitfall, I hate when people do this when they apologize. I'm sorry you felt like I was doing that on purpose.
Oh,
I'm sorry you felt that way.
Yeah,
I'm sorry your feelings was hurt. That's not what I meant to do. That, oh my God, that's not even an apology. Don't even bring up I'm sorry. Because if you say, I'm sorry you feel that way.
Yeah. That's
being condescending.
Self-centered. That's a narcissistic type.
Yeah.
That's not an apology at all. Because like what I was saying earlier, apology is something that you already putting the bearing on me, and I'm the one hurt. I'm like, yo.
No, but real talk, it does go like that though. Sometimes, with a lot of people that shifting it over to you, and like we know what's going on here. Like, why are you playing?
Who else can relate? New?
I definitely can relate. I feel like every time I've gotten those types of quote unquote apologies, it's more like, to me, if anything, it feels like they're apologizing for me for having feelings. And, oh, I'm sorry you felt that way. And I'm like, oh, so you're not sorry for your action. You're just sorry that I happen to feel a certain way about it. And then even then, it doesn't seem like they're truly sorry. It's more just like they're just trying to get on with the conversation and, get it over with. They're not really feeling any type of way or feeling bad about the situation at all. It's definitely frustrating.
Ifa Bukola, you can relate?
Yeah, definitely. But what I was reminded of is that, my mind or whatever, is that, like, when somebody says, it's not that serious, what I mean? Like you feel a certain way, and then I'm sitting here telling you, like, it's not that serious. Why are you making a big deal? Or, it's really not that serious. How could I tell you what's serious, for how you're feeling or not?
Right.
Right. So, yeah.
Ooh, that's a big pitfall they need to avoid. Don't ever say it's not that serious.
Right. Just that's it on fire,
Yeah. Do you guys think body language plays a role in the apology?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So that neck swinging, moving the hands in the neck from a woman, is that not apologizing?
Well, what I think though, part of the body language, obviously, it might be a small detail, but like if you're square to me or not, or eye contact, are you square to me, or are your feet pointing in another direction, while you're talking, what I mean? Like, do you look like you are positioned to, like you got to go somewhere? You should position yourself to sit or stand in a way where you're not looking as if you're anticipating, to exit, like stand there and apologize, not looking like, like a mannequin that's been, getting ready to walk out or something, you know what I'm saying?
Or standing with the hands on the hips. I know when you get kids to try to apologize, they got their arms folded. Sorry.
Yeah.
Your body language is not saying sorry. You got your arms folded, like you just upset and you being forced to apologize, which you are, but you don't need to show that in the body language. And there's some adults that do the same thing, which is terrible. So we definitely said that, when you apologize, you should be talking about what you're apologizing for. But do you guys think that maybe that can be considered as over explaining or making excuses? When does apologizing and explaining yourself become, now you're just making excuses?
I think it goes back to just like the same but.
There you go.
If I'm explaining myself, I'm like, I'm sorry, But like I wasn't, but if I'm just showing you what I'm sorry for, it's gonna go like, I'm sorry I did this. I understand I was wrong for boom boom like that. You're not going to use like a but or like a transitional word in there to transition from the apology to now your explanation.
One of the points I wanted to make, I feel like if you made a public spectacle, you humiliated me, or you did something publicly, I think you should apologize publicly. Does anybody relate to that? Because in a previous relationship that I've had before, it was always embarrass me in front of everybody. But then you want to, pillow talk and say, I'm sorry, in private. I don't like that. No, you need to say you sorry in front of everybody you try to embarrass me in front of. Ifa Bukola?
Yeah, that's a great point. Like that part right there. Okay, what I think is that, however, like wherever the offense took place at, you should apologize in the same manner. You know what I'm saying? Like if the offense was in front of two people, you should apologize in front of two people. You know what I'm saying? If it was in front of a crowd, you should apologize before the crowd. Not just, you did what you did and then you try to come in secret and, you know what I'm saying, now, you're trying to be all buddy and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't agree more. I really couldn't. I couldn't agree more.
I think in some way there's an energy shift there because, you humiliated me in front of people. Your apology should help remove that humiliation a little bit, but it also puts them in a humiliating situation as well.
Right.
To where maybe they'll start acknowledging, oh, I don't like this. That's embarrassing. So I don't want to have to do that to that person. Embarrass that person in public because I didn't like apologizing in public. So I think there's healing there. And speaking of healing, how much do you guys think apology does for healing, and how much does it affect someone mentally with giving an apology?
Mainly mentally, just so pieces the person, and it's just them to go do their own self work now to try to rebuild what was damaged. Because I don't really believe others can continue to build up what's been damaged inside of you. It definitely takes you, your input, it definitely takes you having to actually believe it. Because you can say, I can say whatever, I can tell you you're so great at this and whatever, I thought I just damaged you and made you think you weren't, but it's not really on him until you start believing in yourself. So I think, that's a lot for your mental, and really to now, okay, I've established respect again, but also now it's time for me to rebuild up myself and take whatever.
It's it's beneficial to both parties, because it keeps the conscience clear to follow behind what your offenses or your mistakes, to acknowledge it, and especially to clear the air with the other person if you should be unjust in some way to another person. It clears your heart and it clears your conscience too, because it has a great effect to walk around with a heavy conscience.
And it definitely has an effect on a person who feel like they have been wronged and they have not received that apology. There's an emotional weight there. And so an apology can impact them positively when they receive that apology that they feel like they are due.
And we could never say how much it's affecting that person, because it might not bother me very much that, I don't know, somebody borrowed my book for 2 weeks, but the other person, it might be something really sacred to them, and it really bears down on them. So we can never assume how something makes somebody else feel.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to go back to the public apology again. It reminded me of when, let me bring up some stars. Offset did the public apology to Cardi B and then asked her at her concert, and then he publicly apologized to her on stage, and then asked her to marry him, take him back. And everybody was like, "Oh, that's so sweet." What? There's definitely a impact on public apology, because if you notice, our society oftentimes requires it. A star might accidentally have slipped and said the wrong word, used the wrong terminology, and what is it that they have to do? Give a public apology. They got to go on publicly and admit they were wrong and apologize. What new? I think you can relate.
I think public apologies are 50-50. I think definitely if someone has publicly embarrassed you, definitely needs to publicly apologize and admit that you were wrong in front of everyone that you embarrassed publicly. But I also think that sometimes it can start to lead and bleed into manipulation, because it's like, a lot of people don't want to just embarrass someone like that. And I think just as a society, that's such a societal norm of, not rocking the boat and stuff, and, keeping some things private, and even saying yes for something, and then in private being like, okay, I didn't want to embarrass you and I didn't want to cause a scene, but I actually didn't want to do that. So I feel like sometimes that can kind of lead into that, where it's like, maybe we don't know if Cardi B really wanted to say yes and accept his apology and say yes to being married and stuff like that, but because it was
it's public.
Yeah, because it was this big scene and all these people are probably screaming, say yes, then it's like you get caught up in the moment and you say an answer that you don't even know if you really truly wanted to say that answer or not.
Mm-hmm.
That was very insightful. Very insightful.
Yes, that's true. Helene?
Same thing with me, we went on there and apologized, but I felt like I couldn't accept it because we was all mad at him.
Same thing with who?
Yeah, Diddy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, as New was saying, it certainly can turn into manipulation. Like humiliation rituals, things like that.
Right.
It can go a little far.
Yeah, I was trying to say that also some do it just because they're seeking validation, and so a lot will look to the media because they know this is what they want me to do, or this is what they want me to say, and some do it just to get people on their side or whatnot. So I do agree with what New had said, and that was going to be my other point. But I think it's because of that humiliation, and I think also because some are seeking validation from the crowd.
Advice would you give someone who apology is not accepted? How should someone approach that? If their apology is simply just not accepted, what advice would you give them?
Damn.
That would be the first reaction. I know. Damn. I don't know what you could do. Yeah.
I don't think that the person should stop, switch their position from being apologetic. I think you still should be apologetic, but you have to accept that they're not ready to accept that yet. And maybe they may not ever, but I think you can still leave that door open for that. I don't think you're supposed to renege that card.
I like that.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that.
New.
Kind of what Jeremiah was saying, definitely just you have to accept it. I think personally, if I gave an apology and it wasn't accepted, I would definitely look back and reflect on the apology, and was it as genuine as I was meaning it, or maybe I was just truly trying to get it out the way. So I definitely would do some self-reflecting, and if it was as genuine as I could do, I would definitely just kind of give them time to process it and take their time. And if they don't forgive me, then that's okay. But it's definitely, like Jeremiah was saying, you can't take it back. Can't have that attitude of, well, I apologize. If they accept it or not, it doesn't really matter. I'm gonna move on with my life. I don't really care anymore. You still have to be considerate of, you did do something wrong. And if that's up to them to decide if they are accepting of that apology or not.
If I definitely want to hear it.
Yeah, that would definitely be you know, a disappointing thing, but the responsibility is still there, you know, to apologize and, you know, hopefully, you know, to mean it, you know, to sincerely mean it. If the person does not accept it, it still doesn't change the fact that, you know, it's what you should have done, you know, as Jeremiah was saying, you know, and, you know, hopefully don't hold any animosity or, you know, anything like that or resentment. If it was meant, if you meant the apology, you meant the apology. You know, you did it for your own soul as well as theirs. So, you know, hopefully they will come around, they will come to understand, or maybe there's something else that you could understand, you know, that I could reflect on to understand also, you know, just to take it that way and not take it to a point of, you know, resent or anger or anything like that.
Do you guys think that timing could be a reason why someone doesn't want to accept apology? Is timing important in the art of apologizing?
Yes.
Yeah, certainly.
Why do you say that, Nu?
I think sometimes, you know, it could be entirely too soon that it's like, are you really even reflecting on what you did? Or sometimes it can be entirely just too late. If you come and apologize for something you did 2-3 years ago, it's kind of like that ship has already sailed. I've kind of probably already moved on. And kind of accepted that you weren't going to apologize. So you coming and trying to apologize now might not really do anything for that person, where it's kind of just like maybe you're just apologizing to make you feel better rather than actually.
And they very well could. Maybe they just realized the error of their way. As Ifa Bukola was saying, they're trying to make atonement. So, you know, some people say better late than never, or maybe they're like, you know, you might not, I know it's been years, but I'm trying to make atonement and I got to apologize to you. So, you know, is there an apology? Do apologies have expiration dates?
And I think, yeah, definitely. If someone is doing that, you know, trying to make amends and stuff, I just think anyone going into that has to have that mindset of being okay with someone not accepting it or not wanting to even hear that apology after so much time has been passed.
Yeah, with the time thing, you know, I think that I came to the conclusion several times where at the time that something happened, I might not have understood how what I did or said, you know, was offensive, wrong, or, you know, how I may have affected someone. And maybe years down the road, you know, I matured enough to understand how that, you know, may not have been something that I should have done or said, or how I wronged or offended that person. And, you know, I still think that it's good to, even though it's many years later, you know, the time has passed, to still, you know, apologize, as long as it doesn't seem like it'll make matters worse. You know, of course, there are those situations, but I'll give you an example, you know, like a situation I think everybody can relate to. There's times when we're younger with our parents where, you know, they have advice. There's certain things where they are, you know, exercising some kind of authority, or some big dispute comes out, or issues or whatever. You know, we're in our youth, you know, and when I was younger, I can't speak for anybody else, but when I was younger, I knew everything. You know, I just forgot. You understand? And many years later, looking back, there were certain things that may have frustrated me when I was younger. But when you get older and you have, you know, teenagers or kids of your own, you know, different things, it's like you're reliving it. You're saying, wow, now I understand, you know, how my father felt or how my mother felt in that position. You know, I didn't understand it then, but I definitely understand it now. You know, and I've apologized for, you know, a couple of things, you know, with both my father and my mother, you know, looking back, even though it was like 20 years later, or, you know, 15 years later, just because, you know, that's really what I felt, you know.
Yeah, I totally understand that. I too have done that. Apologized, came back and apologized to my mother. for what I know I put her through as a teen. Only after I start going through my children's teenage years and realizing, oh my God, I did this stuff to my mother. I owe her an apology. So that's great. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. My last two questions is do you guys think that words alone should be enough for an apology? Or should it be accommodated with something? Meaning, like, I know some people that they apologize, but they only apologize with gifts. Is that sincere? It's like you're buying their forgiveness. Can somebody relate to that? Y'all know anybody like that? That apologizes with giving some people stuff.
Yeah, they ain't worth a damn, really, if you ask me.
No.
Yeah.
I definitely have met a few people like that. I just feel like as long as you're actually having a genuine apology with like words first, I don't think it should just be like, oh, you mess up and then you just be like, hey, here, I got you this necklace out of nowhere, not even saying for why or anything like that. I think that's definitely a problem. At least stay and acknowledge where you went wrong. And then if you want to do something and add on something, you can, but I don't think that should be a every time thing. Because then it'll definitely feel like you're buying their love and their acceptance.
Yeah, this goes out there to the parents that just be like, just bring ice cream one day or get in the car, we're finna go eat. Or they just come in.
Yo, that's true though. That's true.
Yeah, parents might have a difficult time using those words. So you're saying that they do nice things for you, just to show that they are sorry. And I also think that in relationships, women do certain, I think for some women, it's hard for them to say they're sorry to their partners. So what they do is want to be a little more cuddly, more romantic, and the man is supposed to understand that's her way of saying I'm sorry.
Are you speaking from experience?
Open your mouth.
No, I'm not speaking from experience. Yes, I'm speaking from experience, and I'm speaking from because I know women. And men usually will buy things. Women will will do it physically, and men will buy things. That's just my opinion. That's how I can relate. But at some point, there are some times when words is just not going to be enough. Your actions, as we already said, has to show that you're sorry. There has to be certain things, actions that is going to be required as a follow-up, but then there are times where words is enough. And if we can get the words and not necessarily the gifts, that would be great, because to get the gifts, as Nu said, without the words, it's empty, right? It's manipulative. You're trying to manipulate me, because some people's ego gets in the way and so strong that they just cannot bring themselves to those words of I'm sorry. They will spend their last dime for gifts as a makeup, apology, but they won't say it verbally. Okay. What advice would you give them on how they can go about rebuilding trust with somebody who has transgressed against them? Halim, I'll start you off.
The first and foremost is don't try to rush the person and taking you back, and don't try to push it upon them. Like, even if you done said your apologies and everything, and you're trying to start building that trust back again, if it's taking however long it's taking them, you have to respect it, because at the end of the day, you were the one that burnt the bridge. So you can't try to rush the person or get mad when the person is still feeling some type of way, even after you said your apologies, or even if their trust is not fully there yet. You can't try to push the person into taking you back, like right after the matter. So yeah, I just think that's my number one tip, is don't try to rush the other person into taking you back and developing that trust, because it comes with time.
I would just say kind of what Helene was saying. definitely just be patient and always be genuine with everything, how your intentions are and stuff.
Jeremiah?
Similar to what they said, be genuine, be patient. But I just say crucify yourself. Be willing to go against yourself, even go against yourself if you have to, in order to apologize and like show your sincerity. I think that's the biggest thing. Most times people have a hard time accepting your apology because they feel as if you're not on their team, you're on your own team. And if you're able to even like go get yourself and reflect and see how you really truly did affect this person, I think you will get that's the key to having more of a genuine approach to it.
I'm going to give my relatable opinion, and then Ifa Bukola, my co-host, I want you to close us out, okay? And I'm going to give my opinion on both ways. My advice for someone who is trying to rebuild trust, be patient, as Nu was saying. You can't expect, because you lay down an apology, that person you're giving it to has to pick it up immediately. Okay? So let time also heal. Time is a wonderful healer. Sometimes when words are not even spoken. So let time do its job. Be patient and understanding. And then on the other side, the person who wants to rebuild trust, and they are the ones accepting the apology. In order to rebuild trust, once you accept that apology, you have to be willing to move on. Don't keep letting that be hung over someone's head of whatever the transgression was. If you said, I accept your apology, we're going to move on. I ain't saying you had to, you have to forget, but in order to rebuild the trust, you have to be able to move on and let that transgression go and not continue to keep harboring feelings of resentment or anger for it, or else the apology meant nothing. And that's what you're showing the individual, that the apology means nothing, because you're going to always keep treating them a particular way, or you're going to always keep bringing it up, or what have you. So we have to learn to be patient, and we have to learn to accept it and move on and move past the transgression and let time definitely work its magic and heal both sides, both parties. Ifa Bukola, if you can give us your final words on, how you can relate to that and the advice you would give someone who is trying to rebuild trust after a transgression.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate what you just had to say. What everyone is saying. What came to mind is that that's one of the ways that marriages become sexless. You know what I mean? I know it probably sounds, out of the way, but, ultimately everybody here, more than likely will be in a marriage or something, a long-term relationship, hopefully, with a happy family. But, that's how severe it could get, when things are unresolved and trust is not restored. But as everyone is saying, time, nobody can force the speed that it occurs, that it happens, that healing takes place. Nobody could rush it. It's going to take as long as it's supposed to take, and you have to have that patience for it. And meanwhile, in that time, the goal is to become more trustworthy. The goal is not to get the person to like you. The goal is to become more trustworthy. You see, not to get the person to like you. It's to become more trustworthy, because the same attribute that caused that offense with that person, you still have that same attribute that will cause offense with somebody else. So the goal is, let me cure whatever that is in me that caused this problem or offense or misunderstanding. You understand? Let me become more trustworthy. And that's in myself, and I think as we work toward that, things will start coming together to accelerate, that healing and clarity to come back,
I like it.
Yeah.
Very, very good. Well, thank you. That is all for Can You Relate? I think this was definitely a topic that we all can relate to. So thank you so much to my panelists that were able to make it on this call.
Thank you
Thank
to
you
my
to my
podcast are solely those
co-host,
of the guests and do not
Eva.
necessarily reflect the views, opinions, and positions of Shannon P, the host, and the business associated with this podcast. Shannon P and the Can You Relate podcast crew are not responsible for any statements made by guests and do not endorse any opinions shared unless explicitly stated.